There is a Reddit post I came across that really stood out, made by someone named 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗏. Sorry if I said that wrong. It is a full-on compiled list of feedback for version 2.3, complete with visuals, and honestly, it is rare to see something this clean and constructive coming from the gacha community, especially one in its early honeymoon phase, where things tend to swing between blind praise and full-blown doom posting. But this was balanced. There is no rage bait, no emotional whiplash, no game dead uninstalling. This game is made for losers. It is just actual feedback with pictures, which I know it sounds like a low bar, but when was the last time you saw a player not only gather thoughts from across the community, but also turn them into a visual reference guide for other players to use when filling out their surveys? That is the kind of effort that doesn't come from bitterness, it comes from wanting the game to improve. And that is exactly why it is worth talking about. Because if more feedback looked like this, maybe we would waste less time untangling bad takes from useful ones. Let's actually walk through some of the key feedback. I won't just echo it, but I will try to add some perspective. Let's start with the Gilded Night Market. And look, conceptually it had the right vibe. Limited time shop themed event, kind of a refund system, flashy UI. It was clearly meant to feel special, but in execution, it tripped over its own design. Because here's the thing, you couldn't actually earn all the rewards just by playing. A big chunk of the tokens was locked behind pulling on the banners, which means that if you didn't roll, you were essentially gated from fully participating. And that is where the real disconnect happens. Because when even your most dedicated grinders can't clear the board, you are not rewarding engagement, you are punishing restraint. And this creates a weird tension. Spenders get their rewards on autopilot, and non-spenders grind for hours and still come up short. It is not really a choice at that point, it is a trade-off disguised as one. There is a better way to do this, a dual-track reward system. Let the hardcore players earn everything through effort, even if it takes longer. Let the spenders shortcut the process. Everyone gets what they want, and the friction disappears. Because right now, it is not just about the fairness, it is about trust. And the more systems like this show up, the harder that trust is to rebuild. And then we got the QB Derby. It is one of those events that felt like it should have been a win. The design is charming, the animations are adorable, and the vibe is pure chaos in a good way. But then it got kneecapped by two things, time locks and RNG. The time locks especially made it frustrating. Like it's a multiplayer event with fixed participation windows? Like what are we doing? Not everyone has the luxury of logging in at the specific hour, especially in a global game. You end up punishing players just for living in the wrong time zone or having a job. And I know it's like region separated, but time gating is cringe. Even if you did make it in, right? You weren't guaranteed a satisfying run. There was just enough randomness to make the outcome feel out of your hands sometimes. And when an event rewards are tied to performance, that randomness stops being cute real fast. But here's the wild part. People still want it back. And that says a lot. It means the core idea worked. It was actually fun. I know I did. It is just buried under the kind of friction that didn't need to be there. If they brought it back as permanent, a synchronous mode with better matchmaking and no fixed time gates, it would probably be one of the most played side features in the game. And then there's the Dreaming Deep. It is one of those events that clearly had ambition. It wanted to be more than just being compared to Zenless Zone Zero TV system. And the narrative presentation, it is genuinely impressive. The voice-acted dialogue, stylized comic panels, actual visual novel structure, it showed a level of care that you don't always get in side content. But the pacing absolutely killed it, in a bad way. Every step between objectives are just a little too long. There is too many slow walking animations, too many confirmation prompts asking if you really want to do the thing that you just clicked. It felt like you were just stuck in a UI limbo half of the time. And that is frustrating, because the format was solid. The delivery method was better than most event stories. But when every interaction drags, it starts to feel like the game is wasting your time, even when the content itself is good. If they want to refine this kind of format, they should honestly look back at what Elusive Realms did right. It made those events feel experimental without being annoying. There was actually replay value there. Dreaming Deep wanted to be deep. It just forgot that players still have to wade through it. But beyond events, there was also quality of life changes players were begging for. Let's start with the stuff that sounds small, but ends up rubbing everyone the wrong way over time. The Battle Pass prompt is a perfect example. You finish a challenge, you go claim your reward, and then bam! You get hit with a reminder to buy the premium pass. It is like clockwork. It is subtle the first time, but then the 10th, it is just starting to feel like the game is advertising at you instead of rewarding you. There is a difference. And it's not because the people are lacking money, because someone like me with a gacha addiction, sometimes I'm just way too lazy to buy the Battle Pass. Isn't that crazy? I just find it annoying, that's all. The Battle Pass has good value, just don't push it at me. Then there is the missing claim all buttons in events like Dreaming Deep and 1000 Gateways. You finish the grind, you get your progress up, and now you have to go to the list and manually collect each item like it's an MMO from 2008. It is not game breaking, but it is tedious. And it stacks up. These aren't broken mechanics, right? They're just a little sandpaper edges that wear down the experience over time. Now, if we're talking real functional friction, team presets are kind of a joke at this point. 5 slots isn't nearly enough, especially when you're juggling bosses, limited events, and all the flavor teams people like to build for fun. Most players don't want to delete their GN team just to make space for a double DPS team. It is not even a content issue. It is just a cap that needs to go. Because now there is a normal Spectro team, and then we also have a Spectrofrazzle Spectro team, and that is just one of the variations. We haven't gone through Fusion Arrow, Electro blah blah blah. We would also like the background to change based on the last save location when you open the menu. I think that would be quite neat. And we should also have the ability to rename team presets, and a toggleable key to display additional details such as weapons and echo loadouts. This will make team building so much easier, it's not even funny. These are the kinds of tools players expect before they need them, and it is wild that they're still not there. And don't get me started on echo merging. It is a gacha within your gacha. Players burn through dozens of unused echoes just to convert them into another unused echo, and they're still missing the option to actually target what set they want. Nobody is asking for a guarantee substat yet. For now, just give us a reason to believe that our effort is going somewhere other than the void. And there's a request that popped up in more than one feedback thread: a real training room. Give us a place to test combos, damage rotation, even AI behavior, combos, and any other stuff. We can toggle the enemy resistances, time our skill loops. That kind of sandbox doesn't just help casuals figure out their main, it gives the theory crafting community actual tools to work with. Monster Hunter Rise already nailed this a few years ago. They had literal dojo with every toggle you could want, and that is the bar. Wuthering Waves has one of the best combat systems in the genre, but it is trapped in environments that barely let you experiment. A proper training room would be a quality of life upgrade and a show of confidence in the system that they built. And then there's like a more specific stuff like the character settings, right? Because let's talk about ciaccona. Her ultimate has a strong presence, musically and narratively, but it's about the volume of her singing. It is not a deal breaker, absolutely not, but it is one of those things where a simple volume slider would solve the issue without compromising the vibe. We are not asking for a rework, just a little breathing room for the rest of the soundtrack to exist. I've heard so many people saying like Robin brain rot or like Astra Yao brain rot, and I'm just like, okay, maybe not ciaccona. And there were also notes about inconsistencies in character models. Now, it's hard to tell if it's 2D versus 3D. I'm just like, I just really can't tell here, but can you help me and comment down below what you think this is? And finally, there is a critique about the gacha pity. The suggestion that stood out most was implementing an adaptive pity system, something that recognizes back-to-back 50-50 losses and starts nudging the odds in your favor. Genshin technically did something like this with their capturing radiance mechanic, but it's buried in layers of monetization logic. Wuthering Waves could take that core idea and actually make it feel like a fair system, not a reluctant concession, especially for a game that leans this hard into character identity and resonance customization. All of this isn't nitpicking, it shows people care enough to think deeply about what would improve the game. And that is what makes this whole Reddit post by 𝗖mě0 so interesting. It is not loud, it is not rage bait, it is just a clean, curated snapshot of community priorities, and it does what good feedback should do: cut through the noise. There is no bitterness, no imported drama from other gacha games. It is just a bunch of well thought out points, and that is valuable. If Kuro really wants to build something long term, something that doesn't burn out after 1 or 2 hype cycles, this is the kind of conversation they need to be tuned into. Not because it is always right, but because it is honest, invested, and way more patient than most communities ever are. And the best part, the feedback's already done half the work for them. But that is all from me, Glaivekiyo, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!